The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of destiny and purpose. For thousands of generations, the Jedi have studied its mysteries. The Sith have bent it to their will. Prophets have seen the future written in its currents. But what happens when something from beyond the stars, beyond destiny itself, tears through the very fabric of that sacred power? The world between worlds existed outside time, a realm of infinite doorways where past, present, and future converged in luminous pathways that stretched into eternity. Ancient Jedi texts spoke of it in whispers. Even the most powerful Force users feared to walk its corridors, knowing that one wrong step could unravel reality itself. Tonight, it screamed. Ahsoka Tano had felt it first, a disturbance so violent it knocked her for meditation in her temple on the planet Corvus. Across the galaxy, every Force-sensitive being clutched their heads in synchronized agony. Younglings in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant wailed. Sith acolytes on Moraband collapsed. Even non-sensitives felt it, a pressure behind their eyes, a taste of copper on their tongues, the certainty that something fundamental had just broken. In the world between worlds, 7 figures fell through a rift that burned with colors that shouldn't exist. They tumbled through cascading doorways, each one showing a different moment in galactic history. The fall of the Old Republic, the rise of the Empire, wars that hadn't happened yet, battles from millennia past. The pathways shattered beneath their weight like glass, sending temporal shockwaves rippling outward through every timeline simultaneously. Superman hit first, his invulnerable body cratering into the obsidian floor with enough force to crack the realm's foundation. The impact sent a pulse of energy through the Force itself, pure, radiant, overwhelming. On 1,000 Jedi worlds, Force sensitives gasped as the light side suddenly amplified beyond anything they'd ever experienced. Wonder Woman landed in a crouch, her divine armor reflecting light that came from everywhere and nowhere. The lasso of truth at her hip began to glow, reacting to a universe where destiny and truth were woven into reality's fabric. She rose gracefully, battle-ready, scanning for threats in a realm where time had no meaning. Batman struck the ground and rolled, his cape billowing as he came up in a defensive stance. His cowl's sensors went haywire, trying to process spatial dimensions that violated every law of physics he understood. But his mind, his greatest weapon, began calculating, analyzing, adapting. Unlike his powered companions, he felt nothing from this strange energy that permeated everything. To the Force, he was invisible. A ghost. That would prove invaluable. The Flash materialized in a streak of red lightning that tore through 3 different timelines simultaneously. He stumbled, disoriented, as his connection to the Speed Force flickered and died. This universe had no Speed Force. His powers were trying to compensate, drawing on something else. Something that recoiled from his touch like a living thing. When he moved, reality fractured around him in spiderweb patterns. Green Lantern's ring blazed with emerald light as he created a construct platform beneath Cyborg and Aquaman, catching them before they fell into an abyss between timelines. But the construct flickered, unstable, as if the willpower that fueled it was fighting against some fundamental law of this reality. His ring's AI gibberished warnings in a language that hurt to hear. "Where are we?" Cyborg's systems were rebooting frantically, his motherbox technology pulsing with energy it hadn't shown since Apocalypse. Red warning symbols scrolled across his vision. The technology embedded in his body was connecting to something ancient, something hidden, something that had been sleeping for millennia. "Nowhere good," Aquaman muttered, his trident humming with power as he sensed vibrations through dimensions. "The water here. It's wrong. Everything's wrong. Superman floated upward, his cape rippling in a wind that came from every direction at once. His super hearing picked up sounds from a million different moments simultaneously. Blaster fire, lightsaber clashes, the screams of dying civilizations, the birth cries of stars. His eyes began to glow as heat vision built involuntarily, responding to the overwhelming sensory assault. "League, sound off. Is everyone—" Reality exploded. The doorways around them detonated in sequence like a chain of supernovas. Through each rupture, figures began emerging, ripped from their proper places in time, dragged into this impossible convergence by the shockwave of the League's arrival. A young man with a scarred face and a blue lightsaber stumbled through, eyes wild with confusion and rage. Anakin Skywalker, pulled from the Clone Wars, ignited his blade on instinct. Behind him came a Togruta woman with white markings, dual lightsabers already in hand. Ahsoka Tano had been walking these paths moments ago. Now she faced an impossibility. Another doorway vomited out a blonde-haired man in black, his mechanical hand clutching a green lightsaber. Luke Skywalker from the Rebellion era took one look at Anakin and went pale. No, this isn't possible. Who are you? Anakin snarled, force energy crackling around him as he sensed the disruption. His gaze locked onto the Justice League. What are you? More figures emerged. A young woman with a staff and desperate eyes. Rey from a timeline that shouldn't exist yet. A dark-clad warrior with a crackling red blade. Kylo Ren, ripped from his own era. A Zabrak with horns and burning yellow eyes. Darth Maul, pulled from death itself. And then, through the largest rupture, a presence that made every Force user in the realm freeze. Black armor, mechanical breathing. A red lightsaber that cast everything in crimson shadow. Darth Vader had arrived. The Dark Lord's mask turned slowly, surveying the chaos. When his gaze fell upon Superman, something changed in the Force. Recognition, hunger, possibility. Fascinating, Vader's synthesized voice cut through the dimensional chaos. You are not of this galaxy, yet you burn with power that could reshape everything. Superman's eyes blazed red. Stand down. We don't want to fight. Then you've come to the wrong universe, Ahsoka said. Her lightsabers crossed defensively. Because that's all that's left now. The world between worlds began to collapse. The pathways crumbled, doorways spiraling shut. Timelines hemorrhaging into each other like bleeding wounds. The Justice League had broken destiny itself. And somewhere in the chaos, the Force, the living, breathing energy that bound the galaxy, began to wake. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The collapse happened faster than thought. The world between worlds imploded around them. Doorways slamming shut like massive stone gates. Pathways disintegrating into streams of golden light that spiraled into a singularity. Superman grabbed Flash and Cyborg, his speed barely enough to shield them as reality folded in on itself. Wonder Woman's lasso extended, wrapping around Aquaman and pulling him close. Green Lantern's constructs shattered like glass, but he managed to create one final bubble around Batman. Then they fell, not through space, through time itself, through layers of reality that screamed as they passed. Superman's invulnerable skin burned from friction against the dimensional barrier. Wonder Woman's divine armor sparked with energy that predated the universe. The Force recoiled from them like a living creature trying to expel poison from its body. They crashed onto a platform of ancient stone beneath twin suns that hung in a purple sky. Coruscant, the galactic capital. But wrong. Buildings from different eras stood side by side, gleaming Republic architecture next to crumbling old Republic ruins next to structures that wouldn't exist for decades. The temporal shockwave had merged timelines like shuffling a deck of cards and scattering them across the table. Superman rose first, helping Flash to his feet. Barry's eyes were wild, pupils dilated, veins of red lightning crackling across his skin. Clark, I can feel it. Every timeline, every possible future, they're all happening at once. I'm connected to something, but it's not the Speed Force. It's angry. It's alive. Easy, Barry. Superman's hand on the speedster's shoulder was steady, but his own super hearing was drowning in the cacophony of a city experiencing a million moments simultaneously. He could hear conversations from the old Republic, overlapping with Clone Wars battle chatter, overlapping with Imperial broadcasts. We need to assess the situation before... A squadron of clone troopers in white armor materialized on the platform, weapons raised. Their battalion markings were from the 501st, but behind them, stormtroopers in Imperial white flickered in and out of existence, occupying the same space in different timelines. Identify yourselves, the clone commander barked, his DC-15 blaster trained on Superman's chest. Batman stepped forward, cape spreading, his voice dropping to the gravelly tone that had made criminals across Gotham tremble. We're not your enemy. Your galaxy is experiencing a temporal crisis. We can help. Help? A new voice cut through the chaos. Anakin Skywalker landed on the platform in a Force-enhanced leap, his blue blade humming. He'd followed them through the collapse. You've destroyed the world between worlds. Every Jedi in the galaxy felt reality break. You're not here to help. You're the crisis. Ahsoka landed beside him, more cautious but equally ready for combat. Her eyes swept the League, analyzing threats. When she saw Batman, something in her tactical mind recognized a kindred spirit. Another warrior who fought with intellect, not just power. But recognition didn't mean trust. Anakin, wait, Ahsoka began. Green Lantern's ring flared as he created a barrier between the two groups. Nobody needs to fight. We didn't mean to come here. Something pulled us through a dimensional breach. If you'll just... The barrier exploded, not from Anakin's attack, but from the Force itself rejecting the construct. Green energy scattered like shattered emeralds, and where each piece hit the ground, reality warped. Buildings aged centuries in seconds. Plants grew and died in heartbeats. Clones flickered through different points in their accelerated lifespans. By the Force, Ahsoka whispered, horror in her voice. Everything they do damages reality. Cyborg's sensors were screaming warnings. His motherbox technology had fully activated, connecting to something deep beneath Coruscant's surface. Ancient Sith temples buried for millennia began to wake, their dark energies responding to Apocalypse technology like a tuning fork responding to its matching frequency. Guys, I'm reading massive energy signatures underground. Something's responding to my systems and I can't shut it down. Then maybe you should try harder, a cold mechanical voice said. Darth Vader materialized from the shadows of a building that existed in 3 timelines at once. His presence hit the platform like a physical force, dark and suffocating. The clones immediately snapped to attention, conditioned loyalty overriding their confusion. Anakin's eyes widened, staring at the armored figure with dawning, impossible recognition. Who? What are you? Anakin breathed. Vader ignored him, his masked gaze fixed on Superman, and he extended one black-gloved hand. The Force wrapped around the Man of Steel like invisible chains, attempting to crush him, to bend him, to break him. Superman didn't move. The telekinetic pressure that could crumple Durasteel starship hulls washed over him like a summer breeze. He looked at Vader with something between pity and determination. I don't know what you are, but that won't work on me. We need to talk, not fight. Talk. Vader's synthesizer made the word sound like a death sentence. You are aberrations, anomalies. The Force itself is screaming for your removal. His lightsaber ignited with a snap hiss that sounded like reality tearing. I will study your corpses to understand what you are. Really getting tired of the welcome wagon in this place, Aquaman muttered, his trident beginning to glow as he called upon the power of the seas. But there were no oceans here, no water to command. He was diminished, though still formidable. Wonder Woman stepped forward, drawing her sword with the fluid grace of an Amazon warrior princess. We have fought gods, tyrants, and demons. We have no wish to add you to that list, but we will defend ourselves. The air above the platform split open like a wound. Through the rift, more figures spilled onto Coruscant's fractured surface. Mandalorians in Beskar armor from different clans and eras. Rebel pilots whose ships didn't exist yet. Even a massive four-armed cyborg general who roared with mechanical fury as he ignited 4 lightsabers simultaneously. General Grievous, another temporal refugee. Ahsoka's comm crackled. All Jedi, converge on the Temple District. The Council senses... The transmission cut to static, then reformed. It was a different voice, older, wearier. Empire is mobilizing Star Destroyers. Static again. Rey, can you hear me? The Resistance needs... Multiple timelines, multiple crises, all bleeding into each other. Batman's cowl sensors finally processed what his detective's mind had already concluded. We're the catalyst. Our presence here triggered a temporal cascade. Every era in this galaxy's history is collapsing into this single moment. Flash clutched his head, red lightning arcing wildly. It's worse than that, Bruce. I can see it. The Force, it's not just energy. It's aware. And it knows we don't belong here. It's trying to fix itself. By erasing us, Superman finished grimly. Vader's breathing filled the silence. Then for once, the Force and I agree on something. He raised his lightsaber. You will be removed. Superman moved first, not to attack, but to protect. As Vader's crimson blade descended toward Flash, the Man of Steel became a blue and red blur, intercepting the Sith Lord mid-strike. The lightsaber, a blade of pure plasma that could cut through anything, met Superman's palm with a hiss of superheated air. The blade didn't penetrate. It couldn't. Vader's mask tilted, processing the impossibility. He pressed harder, channeling the dark side through the weapon, increasing its intensity until the air around them shimmered with heat distortion. Superman's hand didn't even redden. The Kryptonian cellular structure, powered by solar radiation that this galaxy's yellow suns provided in abundance, was simply beyond the weapon's capacity to harm. I said we don't want to fight. Superman's voice was firm, but not hostile. But I won't let you hurt my friends. Vader's response was to gesture with his free hand, ripping a massive stone pillar from a nearby building and hurling it at supersonic speed. Superman caught it one-handed, the impact crater beneath his feet, the only sign of the tremendous force involved. He set it down gently. Impossible, Anakin whispered, his own connection to the Force telling him that this being's power wasn't drawn from the energy field that bound the galaxy. Superman was something else entirely, something outside the Force's domain. The realization was terrifying. Wonder Woman's lasso sang through the air, wrapping around Vader's lightsaber arm. The lasso of truth, forged by Hephaestus himself, unbreakable and bound to the concept of truth, yanked the Dark Lord off balance. For a split second, Vader felt something he hadn't experienced in years. The burning, undeniable truth of what he'd become. The armor, the pain, the loss. Padme. He roared with rage and anguish. Dark side energy exploding outward in a force repulse that shattered windows for 3 city blocks. The lasso held, but Wonder Woman slid backward, her boots carving trenches in the stone platform. She'd fought Ares, battled Darkseid, but this warrior's pain was a weapon unto itself. "Your suffering is a prison," she called out, her voice carrying the authority of a demigoddess. "But you don't have to—" General Grievous lunged at her from behind, all 4 lightsabers spinning in a deadly pattern. Wonder Woman released the lasso and pivoted, her Amazonian training taking over. Her bracers, forged from Zeus's aegis, rang like bells as they deflected the plasma blades with precision that defied physics. Each impact sent sparks flying, but the divine metal held. "Jedi?" Grievous's mechanical voice gurgled with confusion as his strikes found no purchase. "Warrior," Wonder Woman corrected, her fist connecting with the Cyborg general's faceplate hard enough to send him crashing through 3 buildings that existed in different timelines simultaneously. Green Lantern created a massive bubble construct around the civilians who were appearing and disappearing as timelines flickered. Clone troopers from the Battle of Geonosis materialized next to stormtroopers from the Battle of Hoth. Confused citizens from the Old Republic era stood beside frightened refugees from the First Order's reign, all of them screaming, panicking, reality itself becoming their enemy. But each construct Hal made caused more damage. Where his willpower made solid touched the force-infused universe, rifts appeared. Small at first, cracks in the air like broken glass, then larger. Through one rift, a massive spider droid from the Clone Wars stumbled through. Through another, a First Order TIE fighter materialized and immediately crashed into a building. "Hal, stop!" Batman's voice cut through the chaos on the League's private comm channel. "Your constructs are tearing holes in reality. Every time you use the ring, you're making it worse." "Then what do you suggest?" Hal shot back, watching another rift open. "Let these people die?" "No." Batman's eyes were already tracking patterns, calculating probabilities. "You coordinate rescue. Minimal constructs, maximum efficiency. Flash. Barry, I need you to not run. Every step you take fractures time further. Stay still." Flash's body was vibrating involuntarily, red lightning crackling across his costume as his powers tried to access a speed force that didn't exist in this universe. Instead, they were tapping into something else, the force's own temporal nature, causing it to hemorrhage alternate timelines like a wounded artery. He could see them all, infinite possibilities cascading through his mind. In one, he ran and destroyed the entire city. In another, he stood still and watched his friends die. In a third, "Bruce, I can't control it." Barry's voice was strained with panic and pain. "It's not the Speed Force. It's something alive, and it's trying to reject me. If I don't run, it's gonna tear me apart from the inside." Ahsoka deactivated her lightsabers, her tactical mind reaching the same conclusion Batman had. "He's right. All of them are damaging the Force just by existing." She turned to Anakin. "We need to get them somewhere isolated, away from population centers. Before—" A wave of pure Force energy rolled across the platform like a tsunami. The Jedi Temple, visible on the horizon, blazed with light. Not the warm golden light of the light side, but something else. Something desperate and defensive. Every Jedi in the temple was channeling their power simultaneously, forming a barrier around the structure as they sensed the threat to the Force itself. From the opposite direction, deep beneath Coruscant's industrial levels, darkness answered. The ancient Sith temples that Cyborg's mother box had awakened were releasing millennia of stored dark side energy. Crimson lightning arced between buildings, and those it touched aged to dust or reverted to their foundation stones depending on which timeline claimed them. Cyborg's mechanical eye glowed red as data streamed across his vision. The mother box is connecting to something called Sith holocrons, ancient data storage devices with massive power signatures. It's trying to download information, but the connection is causing feedback loops across the entire planet's infrastructure. He looked at his hands, watching as apocalypse glyphs flickered across his cybernetic skin. I'm becoming a bridge between technologies that should never interact. Aquaman stood near the edge of the platform, his trident pointed downward. Through the metal and stone, through thousands of levels of cityscape, he felt it. Coruscant's ancient reservoirs, the water that fed billions of beings. But the water was wrong. It existed in multiple states simultaneously, frozen in one timeline, evaporated in another, pristine in a third. His connection to it made his head pound with contradictory sensory information. The ocean of time, he muttered. That's what this is. We're drowning in it. Above them, the sky split open. Not a rift this time. Something worse. The force itself was manifesting visually, golden and crimson energy swirling like a storm system that covered the entire planet. Lightning, not electrical, but pure temporal energy, arced between the clouds. Where it struck, entire city blocks flickered through their complete histories in seconds. Construction, golden age, decay, destruction, rebirth, all in the span of a heartbeat. And in the center of the storm, something was forming, a consciousness, a presence that dwarfed even Superman's godlike power. The living force was waking. Batman's detective's mind processed what his eyes were seeing and arrived at the only logical conclusion. It's trying to erase us. The universe is developing an immune response, and we're the infection. Vader's mechanical breathing seemed to synchronize with the cosmic storm. Finally, something we agree upon. The sky bled temporal energy. Superman floated upward, his cape billowing in winds that came from every era simultaneously. His heat vision began to glow involuntarily as his Kryptonian cells absorbed solar radiation from twin suns that existed in 3 different evolutionary states at once. Young, mature, dying. All the same stars, all the same moment. The power flooding his system was unlike anything he'd experienced. Intoxicating. Dangerous. "Clark, your eyes!" Wonder Woman called out, recognizing the warning signs. She'd seen him lose control before, during their battle against Darkseid's Omega beams. "You're absorbing too much energy!" But Superman couldn't hear her over the roar of a million voices crying out across timelines. His super hearing was picking up the death screams of civilizations that had fallen millennia ago and would fall centuries from now, all dying in this singular fractured moment. His fists clenched as heat vision built behind his eyes, threatening to explode outward. And then he felt it. The light side of the Force responding to his presence. Across Coruscant, every Jedi meditation chamber brightened. Younglings who'd been cowering in fear suddenly felt warmth and hope flooding through their connection to the Force. Padawans found their lightsabers burning brighter. Even the oldest masters in the council chamber gasped as the light side amplified beyond anything in recorded history. Superman wasn't trying to affect the Force. His very existence, his fundamental nature as a being of hope and heroism, resonated with the light side's frequency. Where he flew, the corrupted timelines began to stabilize. Buildings stopped flickering. People stopped phasing in and out of existence. For brief moments, reality remembered what it was supposed to be. "He's healing it," Ahsoka breathed, watching golden energy ripple outward from Superman's position. "By all the Force, he's actually stabilizing the temporal damage just by being here." "Unacceptable," Vader hissed. The Dark Lord reached out through the Force, drawing upon decades of anger, pain, and loss. He channeled it all into a single focused attack. Force lightning. Blue-white electricity erupted from his fingertips, striking Superman with the accumulated fury of a Sith Lord who'd learned to weaponize his own suffering. The lightning washed over Superman like water. It tickled. But what happened next made even Vader step back. Where the Force lightning touched Superman's invulnerable skin, the light side energy amplified catastrophically. The electricity converted from dark to light, from pain to hope, and reflected back at Vader with 10 times the intensity. The Dark Lord's armor smoked as his own attack betrayed him, forcing him to raise a desperate Force barrier. "What are you?" Vader demanded. And for the first time in years, there was fear beneath the synthesized voice. "Someone who doesn't belong here," Superman said quietly. Descending back to the platform, the glow faded from his eyes, but the damage was done. Across the planet, dark side users clutched their heads in agony as the light side surge overwhelmed their connection to the Force. And that's the problem. We're not just visitors, we're poison to your universe's natural order. Batman was already piecing it together. His cowl's sensors showed energy readings that defied conventional physics. Superman amplifies the light side, Wonder Woman's divine nature. He turned to the Amazon, seeing the crimson aura beginning to form around her. "You're doing the opposite." Wonder Woman felt it too. Her connection to the Greek pantheon, to Ares, and the concepts of war and conflict was resonating with the dark side. Not corrupting her will was too strong for that, but amplifying the dark side's presence in the Force wherever she stood. The Sith temples beneath the city were growing stronger. She could feel their hunger, their ancient malevolence drinking in her presence like water in a desert. "No," she whispered, horrified. "I would never—" "You're not choosing it," Batman interrupted. "It's automatic. Your very nature is anathema to this universe's balance." He looked at the rest of the League. "All of us are. We're forcing the Force to extremes just by existing." Darth Maul chose that moment to make his entrance. The Zabrak Sith Lord landed on a nearby spire in a crouch, his double-bladed lightsaber igniting with a distinctive snap hiss that sent Jedi hands to their weapons. But Maul wasn't looking at the Jedi. His yellow eyes were locked on Wonder Woman with an intensity that transcended mere battle lust. "You." His voice was a predatory growl. "You burn with the dark side, yet you resist it. Impossible. Fascinating. I will break you and discover your secrets." He leapt, enhanced by the dark side and the sudden surge of power Wonder Woman's presence provided. His lightsaber became a crimson blur, each strike faster and more brutal than the last. This wasn't the calculated precision of Vader. This was pure primal aggression from a warrior who'd learned to survive through savagery. Wonder Woman met him head-on. Her sword, forged in Themyscira and blessed by the gods, rang against plasma blades that should have melted any conventional metal. But divine craftsmanship held against Sith engineering. She moved with 3,000 years of combat experience, every parry perfect, every counterstrike measured. Where Maul was rage, she was disciplined fury. "You fight well," Maul admitted between strikes, genuinely impressed. "But you cannot win. The dark side is rising. I feel it. The more you fight, the stronger it becomes. You feed it with your warrior spirit." He was right. Wonder Woman could feel it. Every clash of their weapons, every drop of battle fury in her Amazon blood was amplifying the dark side around them. The Sith temples were practically singing with power now. She was making things worse just by defending herself. Flash suddenly convulsed, falling to his knees. Red lightning exploded from his body in all directions, each bolt opening a new temporal rift. Through one, a young Luke Skywalker tumbled out. Still in his Tatooine moisture farmer clothes, completely disoriented. Through another, Rey appeared mid-combat roll, her staff raised defensively. A third rift spat out Kylo Ren, his cross-guard lightsaber already ignited. "Barry, what's happening?" Cyborg rushed to his friend's side. "Can't hold it! Back!" Flash gasped, his body phasing in and out of visibility as he existed in multiple timelines simultaneously. Every timeline is trying to occupy the same space. I'm the crack they're all pouring through. Bruce, I can't stop it. Every hero, every villain, every warrior from every era, they're all being pulled here, to this moment, because of me. Another rift opened. Through it stepped a figure in experimental Sith Stalker armor, Force lightning crackling around his hands with intensity that rivaled Palpatine himself. Star Killer. Galen Marek, Vader's secret apprentice, ripped from a timeline where he'd embraced his full dark side potential. His eyes locked onto Vader. "Master, I've been looking for you across eternity." Vader's lightsaber hummed with anticipation. "Apprentice, you were supposed to remain dead." "So were you," Starkiller replied, and unleashed a Force lightning storm that lit up the fractured sky. Green Lantern's ring was screaming warnings in colors that hadn't existed a moment ago. "Guys, my ring is detecting massive spatial distortions across the entire planet. Whatever's happening to Flash, it's accelerating. At this rate, every significant figure in this galaxy's history will be here within the hour." "An hour?" Aquaman's grip tightened on his trident. "We need a plan now." Batman's mind was already 10 steps ahead, processing variables, calculating probabilities, running simulations. But every scenario ended the same way. Catastrophic failure. The League's presence was an unsolvable equation in a universe that operated on different fundamental laws. "We can't fight our way out of this," he said finally. "Every action we take makes it worse. Superman heals the light, but destabilizes the balance. Diana amplifies the dark just by existing. Hal tears rifts with his constructs. Barry is breaking time itself. Victor is waking ancient weapons. Arthur is useless in a city with no seas." Aquaman finished bitterly. "I know. Not useless," Batman corrected. "Just not enough." The temporal storm above intensified. The living force was no longer just waking. It was becoming fully conscious, aware, and angry. The golden crimson energy began to coalesce into shapes, faces, figures. Every Jedi and Sith who'd ever lived, their essences preserved in the Force, were being pulled into a singular cosmic entity with one purpose: remove the infection. Ahsoka looked at Batman, seeing in his cowled face the same tactical desperation she'd felt at Malachor. "You're invisible to the Force. I can barely sense you at all. Why?" "No powers," Batman replied simply. "I'm just a man. The Force only reacts to things with inherent power." An idea was forming. Dangerous, desperate, which means I can move freely while the rest of the League draws attention. "Bruce, whatever you're thinking," Superman began. "Is the only option," Batman interrupted. "The Force is an immune system trying to destroy us. We can't negotiate with an immune response, but maybe." His eyes tracked the Jedi, the Sith, all the temporal refugees appearing across the city. "Maybe we can convince this galaxy's defenders that we're not the real threat." Wonder Woman blocked another strike from Maul, their locked blades casting crimson and silver light across the platform. "Then what is?" As if in answer, the living force spoke, not in words, in reality itself reshaping. Buildings melted and reformed. Stars in the sky rearranged into patterns that spelled out concepts too vast for language. and every being with a connection to the Force heard the same message, transmitted directly into their consciousness. Anomaly detected. Universal integrity compromised. Initiating correction protocol. All timelines will be purged and reset. Beginning in 47 hours. The Justice League had 2 days before the Force erased them and everything else to restore balance. 47 hours to save 2 universes. The message reverberated through every Force-sensitive mind across Coruscant and beyond. Jedi Masters collapsed in their meditation chambers. Sith acolytes screamed as the living Force's declaration carved itself into their consciousness. Even non-sensitives felt it, a countdown embedded in their bones, in the rhythm of their hearts, in the certainty that reality itself had set a timer on existence. Darth Vader stood motionless, processing the impossible. In all his years serving the dark side, studying Sith holocrons, exploring the depths of the Force's mysteries, he'd never encountered anything like this. The Force wasn't supposed to be sentient. It was a tool, a weapon, an energy field to be manipulated. But now it had declared war on existence itself. "This is your doing," he said to Superman. His mechanical breathing synchronized with the temporal storm's rhythm. "You've awakened something that should have remained dormant." "We didn't mean to," Superman began. "Intent is irrelevant." Vader's rage exploded outward, dark side energy cracking the platform beneath them. "You've condemned this galaxy to annihilation. Every being, every world, every moment of history erased because of your presence." Starkiller stepped between them, Force lightning still dancing across his fingertips. "Then we kill them, quickly, efficiently. Remove the infection before the living Force feels compelled to destroy everything." "You think it's that simple?" Ahsoka's voice cut through the tension. She'd deactivated her lightsabers, her tactical mind working through scenarios at light speed. "They're not the problem. They're the symptom. The Force is reacting to them, yes, but killing them won't stop the countdown. The damage is already done." Anakin moved beside his former Padawan, his confusion and fear momentarily overriding his aggression. "Then what do we do, Snips? How do we fight the Force itself?" "We don't," Batman said, stepping forward. Every Force user turned to look at him, and for the first time, they noticed the absence. Where Superman radiated light and Wonder Woman amplified dark, Batman was void. A hole in the Force, neither dark nor light, simply nothing. The Force is an immune system. You don't fight an immune system, you convince it the threat is manageable. Vader's mask tilted. The cowled one speaks sense. But how does one negotiate with the fundamental energy that binds the galaxy? Before Batman could answer, another temporal rift split the air above the platform. Through it fell a figure in Mandalorian armor, followed by another, then another. Complete squads materialized. Death Watch from one era, protectors from another, even ancient crusaders in armor styles unseen for millennia. All of them armed, all of them disoriented, all of them ready to fight. "Great," Aquaman muttered. "More complications." A Mandalorian in midnight blue armor stepped forward, her helmet's T-visor scanning the League with practiced assessment. Bo-Katan Kryze from the Clone Wars era. "Someone want to explain why I was pulled from the Siege of Mandalore into whatever this is?" "Temporal cascade," Cyborg explained, his system still fighting against the Mother Box's attempts to connect with Sith technology. "The universe is collapsing all timelines into a single moment. Everyone significant is being drawn here." "How significant?" Bo-Katan's hand didn't leave her blaster. "If you've shaped galactic history in any way, you're probably here or will be soon," Batman replied. "Which means we have a very short window to turn enemies into allies." Maul laughed, a harsh sound that echoed across the fractured cityscape. "Allies. The Jedi and Sith will never stand together. The Republic and Empire are sworn enemies. The Mandalorians trust no one. You ask for the impossible, Little Shadow. Impossible is what the Justice League does, Flash said. His voice strained as red lightning continued to arc from his body uncontrollably. New rifts appeared with each discharge, smaller ones now, but constant. Through them, more refugees stumbled. Rebel pilots, Imperial officers, Old Republic Jedi, even a few confused Ewoks. We've united impossible alliances before. Superman brought Earth's heroes together when Darkseid invaded. Wonder Woman forged peace between nations that had fought for centuries. Batman convinced the crime syndicate to help save the multiverse. Superman finished. We've faced extinction before, but never like this, never as the cause of it. Wonder Woman finally broke away from her clash with Maul. Her sword still raised, but her warrior's instinct telling her this battle served no purpose. The dark side feeds on conflict. Every moment I fight, I make the imbalance worse. She looked at Maul, seeing the hunger in his yellow eyes. You feel it too. My presence here is like a drug to you. The more we fight, the stronger you become. The more the universe destabilizes. Maul's grip on his lightsaber tightened. Then perhaps I should thank you before I kill you. Or, Ahsoka interjected, positioning herself between them. You could recognize that in 47 hours, there won't be anything left to rule over. No empire to serve, no revenge to claim, no power to seize, just void. That gave the Zabrak pause. Maul had survived bisection, exile, madness, and death itself through pure hatred and will. But even he understood the futility of ruling ashes. What do you propose, little Togruta? Green Lantern's ring pulsed with energy as Hal struggled to maintain minimal constructs without tearing more holes in reality. We need to understand what the living force actually is. Can your people explain it, any of you? An elderly voice answered from behind them. The living force is the will of the galaxy made manifest. They turned to find a small, green figure leaning on a Geimer stick, his ancient eyes wise and weary. Yoda, master of the Jedi Order, pulled from some point in his 900-year lifespan. His presence immediately brought a sense of calm to the Jedi present, though his expression was grave. Master Yoda, Ahsoka bowed respectfully. Do you understand what's happening? Understand, I do not, but sense, I can. Yoda's ears drooped as he looked at the Justice League. Outsiders you are, from beyond the Force, beyond the galaxy, beyond the very fabric of our reality. Impossible your existence here is, and yet exist you do, a contradiction the Force cannot resolve. So it's choosing to reset everything, Batman concluded. Delete the corrupted data and restore from backup. Restore what? Luke Skywalker spoke up, the young farmer still trying to process being ripped from his moisture farm into galactic chaos. What happens to us when it resets? Unmade, we would be, Yoda said softly. Every choice, every life, every moment, gone. The galaxy would return to some earlier state, perhaps the beginning, perhaps before life itself. Silence fell across the platform, broken only by the crackle of Flash's unstable lightning and the mechanical rhythm of Vader's breathing. Rey, who'd been silent since her arrival, finally spoke. There has to be another way. The Force is about balance, right? Light and dark, life and death, order and chaos. Maybe, she looked at Superman, at Wonder Woman, seeing both the problem and the possibility. Maybe they're not poison. Maybe they're medicine we don't know how to take. Cryptic Jedi wisdom, Starkiller sneered. How predictable. No, Batman said, his detective's mind suddenly seeing the pattern. She's right. Superman amplifies light. Diana amplifies dark. Alone, they destabilize everything, but together, His eyes widened behind the cowl. Together, they could restore balance. Not by fighting the Force, but by becoming part of it. Vader's synthesizer couldn't hide his skepticism. You propose integrating these anomalies into the Force itself. That would require a ritual of unprecedented complexity, dark and light working in perfect harmony, masters of both sides channeling power simultaneously through conduits that shouldn't exist in this universe. Do you have a better idea? Wonder Woman challenged. The Dark Lord was silent for a long moment. Then, no. Cyborg systems chimed with an alert. Guys, we've got incoming. Multiple Star Destroyers dropping out of hyperspace above the city. And they're not alone. Rebel cruisers, Republic Venators, even some ships I don't recognize. Every faction's fleet is converging here. Through the temporal storm clouds, massive triangular silhouettes became visible. But they weren't just Imperial Star Destroyers. They were from different eras, different timelines, all occupying the same space through the fractured reality. Superstar Destroyers overlapped with old Republic hammerheads. Rebel Mon Calamari cruisers phased in and out of existence alongside First Order dreadnoughts, and they were all powering weapons. They sensed the disturbance, Anakin said, his hand moving to his lightsaber. They're coming to investigate, to fight, to claim power. He looked at the gathering crowd of temporal refugees, Jedi, Sith, Mandalorians, soldiers from a dozen eras. This is about to become a war zone. Batman's cape billowed as he turned to face the assembled forces. Then we have a choice. We can fight each other while the universe counts down to oblivion. Or we can do what seems impossible, unite every faction, every era, every ideology under a single purpose: survival. Spoken like someone who's never tried to negotiate with Sith, Maul said darkly. Actually, Superman replied, floating slightly off the ground, his presence still radiating that infuriating hope. We've negotiated with worse, and we've won. The first turbo laser blasts lit up the sky, fired by a paranoid Imperial captain who decided to shoot first. The beam struck a building that existed in 3 timelines, causing it to collapse across multiple temporal states simultaneously. The battle for the galaxy's survival had begun. The turbo laser fire triggered chaos. Imperial Star Destroyers opened up on Rebel cruisers that had materialized beside them, old grudges overriding the cosmic crisis. Republic Venators engaged Separatist dreadnoughts in dogfights that should have been resolved decades ago. First Order TIE fighters screamed through the atmosphere, targeting anything that moved. And through it all, the temporal storm intensified, feeding on the violence. "This is exactly what we can't afford," Superman shouted over the sound of explosions. He shot into the sky, intercepting a turbo laser blast meant for a civilian transport. The energy washed over him harmlessly. But where it struck his invulnerable body, the light side flared so bright that every ship's sensors overloaded. Jedi across the battlespace suddenly felt a surge of hope and clarity, which made the dark side users furious. Aboard the Superstar Destroyer Executor, Darth Sidious felt Superman's presence like a blade pressed against his connection to the dark side. The Emperor's ancient, twisted face contorted with rage. He'd been pulled from his throne on Coruscant during the height of his power, ripped through time by the Cascade. And now he sensed something that terrified even him. The Force was dying, and these outsiders were the disease killing it. "Vader!" His holographic projection appeared before the Dark Lord on the surface. "Bring me the one called Superman. Alive. His power will be mine, or the galaxy burns." Vader's mechanical breathing was the only response before the hologram cut out. The Dark Lord looked at Superman hovering in the sky, radiating light, and made a decision that would have been unthinkable mere hours ago. "Jedi, Vader addressed Ahsoka and Anakin, the word tasting like poison. "Your enemy is my enemy today. We destroy Sidious together, or we die separately." Anakin's eyes widened. "You know the Chancellor? Wait, who are you really?" "No time," Ahsoka cut him off, her tactical instincts overriding her shock at Vader's proposal. "He's right. We can't afford divided forces." She activated her comm. "All Jedi in range, this is Ahsoka Tano. Emergency protocol, temporary ceasefire. Repeat, temporary ceasefire. We have 46 hours to save reality itself." "They won't listen," Maul predicted, watching Jedi and Sith starfighters continue their dogfights above. Batman's voice came through on an open frequency he'd managed to hack into every ship's communication system simultaneously. "Attention all vessels, this is not a request. Stand down immediately, or condemn every being you've ever known to oblivion." The comm channels exploded with responses. Outrage, confusion, demands for identification. Batman ignored them all, his cowl systems projecting a holographic display visible to every ship in orbit. 46 hours ago, your universe was stable. Now it's dying. The countdown is real. The living force has declared a universal reset. Every timeline, every life, every moment will be erased unless we act together. The hologram showed the temporal collapse calculations, the energy readings, the undeniable proof. "We are the Justice League. We didn't ask to be here, but we're your only chance at survival." On the bridge of a rebel cruiser, Admiral Akbar stared at the data with his bulbous eyes. "It's not a trap," he muttered, running the calculations himself. "By the Force, it's real." Aboard an Imperial Star Destroyer, Grand Moff Tarkin's cold eyes narrowed as he processed the information. "Fear will not keep this reality intact," he said to his bridge crew. "But cooperation might. Helm, cease fire. Weapons to stand by." Slowly, impossibly, the battle began to wind down, not from trust, from terror. The countdown was undeniable. 46 hours and counting. Flash collapsed on the platform, his body finally giving out. Red lightning no longer arced wildly but pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Each pulse opened micro-rifts that brought through smaller elements. Data files, holocron fragments, even force ghosts that shouldn't be visible outside sacred sites. Cyborg knelt beside his friend, his mother box connection finally stabilizing into something manageable. "Barry, hang on. Your body is trying to adapt to a universe without speed force by creating its own temporal field. You're literally becoming a living gateway." "Feels amazing and terrible," Flash gasped. "I can see every possible future, Vic. In some, we win. In most, we don't. But there's one path. One specific sequence of events that gives us a chance." His eyes snapped open, glowing with red energy. "But it requires me to do something that might kill me." "Later," Cyborg said firmly. "First, we survive the next hour." Wonder Woman watched Mandalorian forces landing on surrounding platforms, their jetpacks illuminating the darkening sky. Bo-Katan approached, flanked by warriors from half a dozen different eras of Mandalorian history, all eyeing each other with suspicion but united by pragmatism. "Mandalorians don't pick sides in galactic conflicts," Bo-Katan said. "We survive. But if the galaxy ends, there's nothing to survive in." She looked at Wonder Woman with a warrior's respect. "You fight well, for an outsider. What's your plan?" "Integration," Wonder Woman replied. "My presence amplifies the dark side unintentionally. Superman amplifies the light. Alone, we're catastrophic. Together, properly balanced, we might stabilize the Force instead of destroying it." "Might?" a new voice interjected. Kylo Ren pushed through the crowd, his crackling crossguard lightsaber extinguished, but his presence radiating dark side energy. You're gambling the entire universe on might? Do you have a better idea? Wonder Woman challenged. Kylo's mask turned toward Rey, who stood near Luke and Yoda, the supreme leader and the last Jedi, pulled from futures that now might never exist. Grandfather's legacy was balance, even if he never achieved it. Perhaps. He deactivated his mask with a hiss, revealing Ben Solo's conflicted face. Perhaps we finish what he started. Vader's mechanical breathing intensified. Grandfather? Temporal mechanics are giving me a headache, Aquaman muttered, still sensing the wrongness of Coruscant's water systems across multiple timelines. But if I'm following this correctly, we need to create a massive force ritual that somehow integrates our League members into this universe's fundamental energy while simultaneously preventing it from erasing all of existence. Essentially, yes, Yoda confirmed, his Geimer stick tapping thoughtfully. A balance we must create. Light and dark, insurers and outsiders, all timelines harmonized into one. Attempted before, this has never been. Possible it is. His ears drooped. Survive it, we may not. Green Lantern's ring pulsed weakly. Hal had been forced to minimize his constructs to near zero, making him feel powerless for the first time since receiving the ring. What do you need from us? Focal points, Ahsoka said, her mind working through Jedi techniques she'd learned and some she'd only heard whispered about. Superman becomes the light side anchor. Wonder Woman becomes the dark side anchor. The rest of you serve as conduits and stabilizers. And the ritual? Batman asked. Requires locations of immense force power, Vader supplied. The Jedi Temple for light, the Sith Shrine beneath it for dark, both drawing on the same foundation, creating the necessary duality. His mask turned toward the temple in the distance, still blazing with defensive energy. The Jedi will never allow Sith into their sacred ground. They will? When the alternative is non-existence. Sidious's voice crackled across every comm channel simultaneously. The Emperor's hologram appeared above the city, massive and imposing. I have studied the data the Batman provided. It is accurate. Reality will end in 45 hours unless we act. His yellow eyes burned with malevolent intelligence. Therefore, I propose a temporary accord, Jedi and Sith, working together for the first time in millennia. Not from trust, from necessity. Never, a Jedi Master's voice shouted from the temple. We will not allow the darkness to corrupt our sacred. Yoda's ancient voice cut through the objection with authority that transcended rank. Ends in 45 hours, this argument does. Along with everything else, swallow your pride, you will. Or swallow oblivion, we all shall. The silence that followed was broken only by the sounds of ships repositioning in orbit, forming a perimeter around Coruscant instead of fighting each other. Starkiller stepped forward, Force lightning still dancing between his fingers. I know the Sith Shrine. I've walked its halls. The dark energy there is vast, ancient, hungry. If Wonder Woman attempts to anchor the dark side through it, it will try to consume her. Then I'll fight it, Wonder Woman said simply. I've resisted corruption before. Ares himself tried to make me his weapon. I chose my own path. This will be different, Vader warned. The dark side is not a person to resist. It is a concept, a philosophy, a truth about power and passion. It will offer you everything you've ever wanted. Then I'll refuse. Maul laughed bitterly. Such certainty. We shall see how long it lasts when the darkness whispers your deepest desires. Batman's analytical mind was already mapping the logistics. We need to buy time to prepare the ritual. That means keeping the fleet unified and preventing any single faction from trying to seize power. Hal, Vic, You work on establishing a communication network between all eras. Arthur, coordinate with the Mandalorians on ground defense. If anyone tries to disrupt this, we need them stopped immediately. And me? Flash asked, struggling to his feet with Cyborg's help. You rest. Whatever you saw in those timelines, whatever sacrifice is coming, we'll need you at full strength. Above them, the temporal storm continued to swirl, and embedded in the clouds, barely visible, the living force's countdown manifested as a slowly rotating symbol composed of pure energy. Every revolution brought reality one step closer to the reset. 45 hours. Superman descended, landing beside Batman. This is insane, Bruce. We're trusting Sith Lords, uniting enemies who fought for generations, and attempting a Force ritual that's never been done using people who shouldn't even exist in this universe. I know, Batman replied, which is why it might actually work. The living force expects us to fail. It's counting on chaos and division, so we give it the opposite. Unity, Superman said, looking at the assembled forces. Jedi standing near Sith, rebels beside Imperials, Mandalorians protecting both. We've inspired this before, back home. Maybe we can do it here. Maybe, Batman agreed. Or maybe we've just condemned both universes. The countdown continued its inexorable rotation. 44 hours, 59 minutes. The race had begun. The Jedi Temple had stood for thousands of years, a monument to peace and knowledge. Now it would become the site of the most dangerous experiment in galactic history. Superman stood at the temple's main entrance, flanked by Jedi Masters who eyed him with equal parts wonder and suspicion. The massive doors, sealed during the temporal crisis, slowly opened, revealing the grand hall where countless generations had trained in the ways of the Force. Light streamed through crystalline windows, casting geometric patterns across the polished stone floor. I can feel it, Superman said quietly. The light side. It's like standing in sunlight, but the warmth comes from inside out. Yoda hobbled beside him, his ancient eyes studying the Kryptonian with curiosity. Strong in the light you are, but trained you are not. Raw power without discipline, dangerous it can be. I've spent my whole life learning discipline, Superman replied. Holding back so I don't hurt people, choosing restraint over power. Isn't that what the Jedi teach? Similar, yes, but different also. Yoda's ears twitched. The Force flows through all living things. Through you, it does not flow. Around you, it bends, amplifies, as if a sun you are, and the light side is light reflecting from your surface. Batman's voice crackled through Superman's calm. Clark, we're approaching the Sith Shrine. Diana's descent is about to begin. Are you ready? No, Superman admitted. But we're out of time. Across the city, deep beneath the temple's foundation, Wonder Woman stood at the entrance to a place that radiated malevolence. The Sith Shrine was a wound in reality, a location where the dark side had been concentrated and weaponized for millennia. Ancient carvings covered the walls, scenes of conquest, domination, and power achieved through passion and fury. Darth Vader stood beside her, his breathing echoing off the shrine's obsidian walls. The darkness will test you. It will show you visions of loss, of failure, of every fear you've tried to bury. And then it will offer you the power to prevent all of it. I've faced tests before, Wonder Woman said, her hand resting on her sword's hilt. Not like this, Sidious's hologram materialized, the Emperor having arrived in orbit aboard his throne ship. The dark side is truth without comfort. It strips away the lies we tell ourselves about mercy, about weakness disguised as strength. You will see yourself as you truly are, a warrior who enjoys battle, who thrives in conflict, who is most alive when facing death. Wonder Woman met his yellow eyes without flinching. I know what I am. I'm an Amazon, a protector, and yes, a warrior. But I choose when to fight and why. That's what separates me from monsters. We shall see, Sidious replied, his hologram dissolving into shadow. Starkiller led the way deeper into the shrine, his force-sensitive nature allowing him to navigate the oppressive darkness. Behind Wonder Woman came Maul, Kylo Ren, and a collection of Darkseid users from across the timelines, all of them bound by the Uneasy Alliance. They could feel the Darkseid strengthening with every step Wonder Woman took, feeding on her warrior nature like predators scenting blood. The chamber is ahead, Starkiller said, gesturing to massive doors covered in Sith runes. Beyond lies the shrine's heart, a vergence in the Force where the dark side is concentrated to its purest form. When you enter, there will be no turning back. Wonder Woman pushed the doors open. The chamber beyond defied physical laws. It was simultaneously vast and claustrophobic, filled with shadows that moved independently of any light source. In the center stood an altar of black stone, pulsing with crimson energy that seemed to breathe with malicious sentience. The walls were lined with Sith holocrons, hundreds of them, each containing the knowledge and essence of Dark Lords long dead. By Hera, Wonder Woman whispered, feeling the dark side wrap around her like chains. Images flashed through her mind unbidden, her sisters falling in battle while she was too slow to save them. Steve Trevor dying again and again in different ways, the League turning against her, calling her a warmonger, a relic of a violent age. Focus! Batman's voice cut through the visions. He stood at the chamber's entrance, visible to Wonder Woman, but invisible to the Force itself. A ghost in a realm of power. Diana, remember your training. The visions aren't real. They're constructs designed to break your will. They feel real, she gasped, falling to one knee as the pressure intensified. Because they could be, Kylo Ren said, his own struggle with the dark side giving him insight. That's the nature of this power. It shows you possibilities. Terrible ones, yes, but possible nonetheless. The fear is real, even if the visions aren't. Above, in the temple's meditation chamber, Superman felt Wonder Woman's distress through the strange connection they developed since arriving in this universe. The light side within him surged protectively, trying to reach her, to shield her from the darkness. But Yoda's voice stopped him. Interfere, you must not. Her trial. This is. Balance requires both light and dark. Protect her from darkness, and the balance shatters. So I just let her suffer? Superman's eyes began to glow red. You trust her strength, Ahsoka said, having joined them in the meditation chamber. She sat cross-legged, her lightsabers laid before her in a meditative arrangement. The way she trusted yours when you absorbed too much solar energy. This is her battle. Superman forced himself to calm, but his fists remained clenched. In the shrine, Wonder Woman pushed herself to her feet. The visions continued. The League dead. Themyscira burning. Gods she'd called friends revealing themselves as enemies. Each image was designed to break her, to make her embrace the dark side's offer. Unlimited power to prevent every loss, to dominate every threat, to ensure through force that nothing she loved could ever be harmed. No, she said through gritted teeth. Loss is part of life. Fear is natural, but I will not let them control me. The holocrons along the walls activated simultaneously, projecting the spectral forms of ancient Sith lords. Darth Bane, Darth Revan, Exar Kun, and dozens more, all studying her with predatory interest. She resists, Bane's ghost observed. Impressive. But not enough, Raven countered. The dark side is inevitable for warriors like her. It's only a matter of time. Maul stepped forward. His lightsaber ignited. Then perhaps she needs proper motivation. He turned toward Batman, the only vulnerable target in the room. Your friend bleeds, does he not? Wonder Woman's sword was in her hand instantly, positioned between Maul and Batman. Try it. There it is. Sidious's voice echoed through the chamber, though his hologram wasn't visible. The passion, the fury, the willingness to kill to protect. That is the dark side, warrior. You already embrace it. Stop pretending otherwise. I protect. I don't dominate, Wonder Woman replied. But even she heard the doubt in her voice. How many enemies had she killed? How many times had she chosen lethal force because it was efficient? How thin was the line between protective fury and simple bloodlust? The dark side purred its approval, wrapping tighter around her soul. Flash's voice suddenly burst through the comms. Guys, we've got a problem. Multiple problems. Massive ones. Green Lantern responded from his position coordinating the fleet. Define massive, Barry. The living force isn't just going to wait 43 hours. It's accelerating the timeline collapse. Characters and ships are being pulled through at an exponential rate. We've got old Republic battalions appearing in the lower levels. Entire Sith empires materializing in the Outer Rim. And, oh no, that's bad. What? Cyborg demanded, his sensors tracking the same data Flash was seeing. Barry, what's bad? The Green Lantern Corps just appeared in orbit. All of them. From multiple sectors. And they've detected Hal's ring signature. They think he's been compromised because his ring is damaging reality. Flash's voice carried pure panic. They're demanding his surrender. If he refuses, they're authorized to use lethal force. In the Fleet Coordination Center, Hal Jordan's ring flared with alarm as his fellow Lanterns surrounded him with emerald constructs. John Stewart's voice, familiar and stern, came through on the core frequency. Hal Jordan of Sector 2814, your ring is causing dimensional instability. By order of the Guardians, you are to remove the ring and surrender immediately. John, listen to me, Hal began. I'm sorry, Hal, but protocols are clear. John's construct, a massive hammer, raised to strike. This isn't personal. Aquaman's trident blazed with power as he sensed what was about to happen. Everyone brace for... The first blow struck. Hal's hastily erected shield shattered, and reality fractured with it. The rift that opened swallowed 3 Republic cruisers and spat out something that shouldn't exist. A Covenant warship from another universe entirely, its weapons charging as it emerged into a galaxy it didn't recognize. Containment has failed, Cyborg shouted. The dimensional barriers are collapsing. We're not just pulling from Star Wars timelines anymore. We're breaching other universes. Superman's superhearing picked up the chaos erupting across Coruscant and beyond. Fighting was breaking out everywhere as beings from impossible realities encountered each other. The careful alliance he and Batman had brokered was seconds from shattering. In the Sith Shrine, Wonder Woman felt the dark side surge with the violence erupting above. It fed on chaos, grew stronger with every act of aggression, every moment of fear and fury. The altar pulsed like a beating heart, and she realized with horror that if she didn't anchor it soon, it would break free and consume everything. We're out of time, she said, looking at Batman. Tell Superman to begin the ritual. Now, even if we're not ready. Diana, now. Bruce, or none of this matters. Batman's hand moved to his comm, but before he could speak, the shrine's entrance exploded inward. Through the smoke and rubble strode a figure in crimson and gold armor, power radiating from every movement. Darth Malgus, ancient Sith Lord from the Old Republic, pulled through time by the cascade. His yellow eyes locked onto Wonder Woman with recognition that transcended eras. "You," his voice was like grinding stone, "you will be mine." Darth Malgus moved like an avalanche, unstoppable, devastating, inevitable. His crimson lightsaber carved through the shrine's air with a distinctive hum that spoke of countless kills across millennia. The ancient Sith Lord had conquered worlds, broken the Republic's back, and nearly destroyed the Jedi Order during his time. Now, pulled from death and history simultaneously, he faced something he'd never encountered, a warrior who existed outside the Force's domain. Wonder Woman met his charge head-on. Their weapons clashed, plasma against divine steel, sending shock waves through the chamber that cracked the obsidian floor. The impact would have obliterated any normal warrior, but Wonder Woman was forged by gods and trained by the greatest fighters in Greek mythology. She pivoted, deflected, and countered with precision that made even Malgus's eyes widen with respect. "You fight well," Malgus acknowledged, force lightning erupting from his free hand. "But you will fall." The lightning struck Wonder Woman's bracers. Instead of being deflected harmlessly like Vader's attack on Superman, this energy found purchase. The dark side recognized a kindred spirit, a warrior who understood that true peace often came through superior firepower. The electricity wrapped around her arms, burning, probing, offering power if she would just embrace it fully. "Diana, fight it!" Batman shouted from his position near the entrance, unable to help without becoming collateral damage. But Wonder Woman wasn't fighting anymore. She was learning. The lasso of truth at her hip began to glow, not with golden light, but with crimson. The dark side was trying to corrupt the weapon forged by Hephaestus himself, to turn truth into a weapon of domination rather than revelation. But Wonder Woman's will was adamantine. She grabbed the lasso and channeled the dark side energy into it, not resisting the power, but directing it. "Truth," she gasped, wrapping the lasso around Malgus's outstretched hand. "Works both ways," Malgus screamed as his own darkness reflected back at him. Every atrocity, every murder, every moment of cruelty and domination, he saw them not through the lens of Sith philosophy, but through the absolute clarity of truth itself. The cognitive dissonance nearly shattered his mind. Wonder Woman released him, and the ancient Sith Lord fell to his knees, his lightsaber clattering to the floor. "What have you done?" Kylo Ren demanded, sensing the disruption in the dark side. "I've learned," Wonder Woman replied, and her eyes now held a faint crimson glow. "The dark side isn't evil. It's passion, strength, the will to act decisively. It's been corrupted by those who use it for domination alone, but channeled through truth, through justice." She placed her hand on the altar, and the entire shrine convulsed. It can be more. Above, in the Jedi Temple, Superman felt the shift immediately. The balance he'd been maintaining, pure light side energy, suddenly had a counterweight. Not darkness for darkness's sake, but disciplined passion opposing disciplined serenity. Yin and yang. Perfect duality. "It's working," Ahsoka breathed, watching as the light side energy in the temple synchronized with the dark side energy below. "She's actually doing it." Yoda's ears perked up in wonder. Impossible made possible. The Force, it reshapes around them. Neither light nor dark dominant, but balanced. Truly balanced, for the first time in millennia. But the universe wasn't ready to accept balance. In orbit, the chaos had reached critical mass. The Green Lantern Corps was engaging Republic and Imperial fleets, their emerald constructs tearing new dimensional rifts with every blast. The Covenant warship had begun glassing population centers, thinking itself under attack. Mandalorian forces clashed with rebel squadrons over misunderstood targeting protocols. And through it all, more temporal refugees poured in by the hundreds. Cyborg sensors were screaming warnings. The dimensional membrane is at 12% integrity. Bruce, if it drops below 5%, the cascade becomes irreversible. Multiple universes will start bleeding into each other until everything collapses into quantum foam. Batman's mind raced through contingencies. Superman, Diana, whatever you're doing, accelerate it. We're out of time. In the shrine, Wonder Woman channeled more dark side energy through herself, using the lasso of truth as a conduit to keep from being corrupted. The holocrons lining the walls blazed with crimson light, the ancient Sith Lord's essences flowing into her and through her, becoming part of the balance she was creating. But the strain was immense. Divine ichor, the blood of the gods, began to seep from her nose. Her knees buckled. The dark side wanted to consume her, to remake her in its image, and only her Amazon-forged will kept it at bay. Diana. Batman moved toward her, but Maul blocked his path. Let her complete the trial, the Zabrak Sith said, and for once there was no mockery in his voice. She's achieving what every Sith Lord has sought and failed to accomplish: dominion over the dark side itself, rather than being dominated by it. In the temple above, Superman felt Wonder Woman's distress through their cosmic connection. His heat vision began to build involuntarily, pure solar energy combining with amplified light side power. If he lost control now, he could incinerate half of Coruscant. Clark, focus! Ahsoka placed her hand on his shoulder, her own force presence helping to anchor him. She's strong. Trust that. I do, Superman said through gritted teeth, but that doesn't make it easier to watch. Flash suddenly materialized in the meditation chamber, his body phasing through walls as his temporal instability reached new heights. Clark, the future timelines. I can see them all. There's one where we succeed, but it requires... He paused, red lightning crackling across his body. It requires me to become the anchor, not you, not Diana. Me? What are you talking about? Superman demanded. The Speed Force doesn't exist here, so my powers have been tapping into the Force's temporal aspect. Every timeline, every moment, they all flow through the Force like rivers of possibility. If I can synchronize with that, become the living embodiment of all timelines existing simultaneously, I can stabilize the cascade. Flash's voice carried absolute certainty and absolute terror. But it means existing in every moment at once, forever. I'll never be able to stop running through time. No, Superman said immediately. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Flash shouted, and for a moment, multiple versions of him occupied the same space. Young Barry, old Barry. Barry wearing a Flash suit from an alternate timeline. I've seen it, Clark. Every possibility. This is the only path where everyone survives. Before anyone could stop him, Flash ran. Not through space, but through time itself. He phased through the temple floor, through layers of city and history, moving faster than thought. His body began to dissolve into red lightning, spreading across Coruscant like neural pathways connecting synapses. He reached the Sith shrine just as Wonder Woman completed her integration with the dark side's power. Their energies met, passionate darkness and temporal lightning, and reality screamed. Flash became something new, something impossible. A living temporal conduit connecting every era, every timeline, every moment in Star Wars history. He existed simultaneously at the Battle of Yavin and the Siege of Mandalore and the fall of the Old Republic and the rise of the First Order. His consciousness expanded across millennia, experiencing everything at once, and through him, The fractured timelines began to stabilize. Ships stopped phasing in and out of existence. Temporal refugees found themselves anchored to this singular moment. The countdown, now at 41 hours, slowed its rotation, as if the living force itself paused to observe this unprecedented development. "Barry!" Cyborg screamed, his sensors tracking his friend's dissolution across space-time. No, Vic, what have you done?" Flash's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere, speaking from every moment simultaneously. "What I had to, buddy, what I had to." Superman flew from the temple at maximum speed, racing toward where Flash had disappeared. But when he arrived at the shrine's entrance, he found only red lightning frozen in the air like crystallized amber. Barry Allen suspended in temporal stasis, his consciousness scattered across the entirety of galactic history. "Can we bring him back?" Superman demanded, looking at Yoda, at Vader, at anyone who might have answers. "Bring him back?" Vader's synthesizer carried something almost like respect. "He hasn't gone anywhere. He's gone everywhere. He is the timeline now, the living bridge between every era." Wonder Woman emerged from the shrine, her armor now etched with Sith runes that glowed faintly crimson. The dark side flowed through her, but it no longer controlled her. She'd bent it to her will through sheer force of character, becoming a living avatar of disciplined passion. The dark side's power channeled through truth itself. She looked at the frozen lightning that had been Flash and felt tears stream down her face. "He saved us all." "Not yet." Sidious's voice crackled across the comm channels, and this time it carried genuine fear. "Look to the sky!" They looked up. The living force had finished its assessment. The temporal storm clouds parted, revealing something that made even Superman's invulnerable heart quench with dread. The entity had taken form. It was massive, filling the space between Coruscant and its moons. Composed of pure force energy, it showed the faces of every Jedi and Sith who'd ever lived. Their essences merged into a singular cosmic consciousness. Its voice shook planets when it spoke, reality bending around each word. "Clever. You have stabilized the temporal collapse, but you remain. The infection persists. Therefore, I will remove you manually, beginning now." A massive hand composed of force energy descended toward the city. Where it touched atmosphere, ships disintegrated. Where it touched buildings, they aged to dust or reverted to raw materials. This was the Force's immune system made manifest, and it had decided that surgical precision was no longer required. Complete eradication was the only option. "Everyone," Batman's voice cut through the panic. "The plan, now. We've got one shot at this, and if we fail, there's no respawn." Superman rocketed toward the descending hand, but even his Kryptonian strength couldn't physically stop something that existed partially outside conventional space. His punches passed through it like hitting smoke, though each impact made the entity recoil slightly. Wonder Woman raised her lasso of truth, now channeling both light and dark side energies simultaneously. "Jedi, Sith, Mandalorians, every warrior who wants reality to continue existing, with me." The impossible army assembled. Natural enemies standing side by side, weapons raised against an entity that was literally their god made manifest. The great temporal war had truly begun. 3 battlefronts erupted simultaneously across Coruscant and the space above it. Space battle. Green Lantern's ring blazed with determination as he faced his greatest challenge, convincing the Green Lantern Corps to stand down while simultaneously coordinating a multi-universal fleet against a cosmic entity. "John, listen to me," Hal shouted across the comm frequency. his construct shield barely holding against the living force's energy tendrils that snaked through space like serpents of light and shadow. That thing is going to erase everything, our universe included, if this cascade spreads. John Stewart's construct faltered, his tactical mind processing the data Cyborg was feeding directly to every lantern's ring. The numbers check out. This isn't a localized threat. He looked at the massive entity looming over Coruscant, its form shifting between light and dark with each cosmic heartbeat. All lanterns, new priority target. Form a barrier grid around the planet. Nothing gets through. 2,000 green lanterns moved as one, creating an emerald lattice that enclosed Coruscant like a cage. But the living force's hand simply phased through it, the constructs having no more effect than trying to cage a concept. It's not physical, Hal realized. It's pure force energy. Our constructs can't touch something that exists outside conventional matter. Admiral Akbar's tactical genius took over on the Rebel flagship. Then we use unconventional weapons. All ships target the entity with ion cannons. If it's energy, we disrupt it. The combined fleet, Republic Venators, Imperial Star Destroyers, Rebel Mon Calamari cruisers, even the Covenant warship that had realized its true enemy, opened fire. Blue ion beams converged on the living force's hand, and for the first time, it recoiled. The energy disruption caused its form to flicker, faces screaming silently as the unified assault actually damaged it. Impossible! The living force's voice shook reality. You cannot harm that which gives you life. Watch us, Tarkin's cold voice responded from his Star Destroyer's bridge. Fire all weapons. Maximum dispersal pattern. Ground battle. Wonder Woman led the charge on the surface as the living force's hand descended toward the Jedi Temple. Behind her came an army that defied belief. Jedi Masters fought beside Sith Lords. Clone troopers coordinated with stormtroopers. Mandalorian warriors flew in formation with rebel pilots. Darth Maul and Ahsoka Tano fought back-to-back, their lightsabers creating a defensive perimeter around civilian evacuation zones. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Never thought I'd die defending Jedi, Maul growled, his double blade bisecting force tendrils that tried to grab refugees. Don't die yet, Ahsoka replied, her white blades flashing. We still need to have a conversation about Mandalore. General Grievous's 4 lightsabers spun with a mechanical precision, his tactical programming adapting to an enemy that had no anatomy to target. Frustrated, the cyborg general switched tactics, using his multiple arms to throw debris, buildings, vehicles, anything massive, at the descending hand to slow its progress. Bo-Katan's Mandalorians provided air support, their jetpacks allowing them to attack from angles the ground forces couldn't reach. Missiles and blaster fire peppered the entity's form, each impact creating small ripples but no lasting damage. It's regenerating faster than we can hurt it, Bo-Katan shouted over the comm. Then we hurt it faster, Aquaman replied, driving his trident into the ground. Through the metal and stone, through Coruscant's vast water reservoirs. He called upon every drop of moisture in the city. Water erupted from broken pipes, from treatment facilities, from the very atmosphere itself. He shaped it into a massive tidal wave that crashed against the living force's hand, not to damage it, but to disrupt its cohesion. Where water touched force energy, steam exploded outward. The physical meeting the metaphysical in a violent reaction. The hand's descent slowed as the entity was forced to solidify partially to interact with the physical attack. That's it! Cyborg sensors detected the weakness. It has to become partially physical to affect us. When it does, it becomes vulnerable. Wonder Woman saw her opening. She launched herself upward, lasso of truth trailing behind her like a crimson comet. The lasso, now channeling both light and dark side energies in perfect balance, wrapped around the entity's descending fingers. Truth met cosmic consciousness. The living force suddenly saw itself through the lasso's lens, not as a protector of the galaxy, but as a tyrant willing to erase countless lives to maintain its version of order. The cognitive dissonance made it hesitate, its hand freezing mere meters above the temple's spire.
What? What am I?
For the first time, uncertainty entered its voice. "You're afraid," Wonder Woman called out, suspended in the air by the lasso's tension. "You're afraid that change means death. But change is life. Evolution. These outsiders aren't an infection. They're a catalyst for something new." Timeline Nexus. Deep within the Force's temporal core, accessible only through the frozen lightning pathways that had been Barry Allen, Superman, Luke Skywalker, Rey, Darth Vader, and Kylo Ren stood in a realm where past, present, and future existed simultaneously. Here, time had no meaning. Luke was both a farm boy and a Jedi Master. Rey was simultaneously a scavenger and the last Jedi. Vader and Kylo existed as separate beings despite being grandfather and grandson. And Superman was every heroic moment from Earth's history reflected through an alien lens. "This is where it decides," Luke said, his younger self's optimism tempered by his older self's wisdom. "The living force brings its most significant moments here to determine outcomes." "Then we give it a new outcome," Superman replied. He could feel Flash's consciousness all around them, stretched across eons, but still present, still fighting. "Barry, can you hear me?" Flash's voice echoed from infinite timelines. "Always hearing everything all at once. Clark, it's beautiful and terrible. I can see every choice, every consequence." "Can you show the living force?" Rey asked, her staff raised defensively as temporal shockwaves rolled through the Nexus. "Show it what happens if it erases us." The frozen lightning pathways pulsed, and suddenly they all saw it. Timeline 1. The living force erases the Justice League. Reality resets, but the damage to the dimensional barriers remains. Other universes begin bleeding through. The Star Wars galaxy becomes a battleground for cosmic entities it has no defense against. Within a century, everything ends. Timeline 2. The Justice League is integrated into the Force itself. Superman becomes the light side's avatar. Wonder Woman becomes the dark side's avatar. Flash becomes Time's avatar. Balance is maintained, but at the cost of the League's humanity. They become concepts, no longer people. Timeline 3. A synthesis. The League remains themselves, but becomes anchored to the Force through chosen representatives. The galaxy evolves, incorporating new possibilities while maintaining its essential nature. Dangerous, unpredictable, but alive with potential. Vader's mechanical breathing echoed through the Nexus. The third path. It is the only one where we all survive as ourselves. "But it requires sacrifice," Kylo said, seeing what his grandfather saw. "Someone must become the permanent bridge between universes. Someone must hold the door open forever." They all looked at the frozen lightning, at Flash, who had already made that choice. "No," Superman said firmly. "There has to be another way. Barry's done enough. We find a different anchor." "There is no other anchor," Rey replied gently, her Force sensitivity showing her the truth. "His power is temporal. He exists in every moment. He's the only one who can sustain the connection indefinitely." Luke placed his hand on Superman's shoulder. "Sometimes The greatest heroes are those who give up everything so others can have a tomorrow. You know this. You've made similar choices. Superman's fists clenched. He had made those choices, flying into the sun to reignite it, absorbing a nuclear blast to save millions, even dying to stop doomsday. But those were his choices. Watching his friend make that sacrifice was infinitely harder. "Barry," Superman's voice cracked with emotion. "If you can hear me, know that we'll never forget this. Never. You're saving 2 universes." Flash's response came from every timeline simultaneously, his voice harmonizing with itself across infinite possibilities. "I know, Clark, and it's worth it. Every moment I get to see, past, present, future, they're all beautiful because people like you make them that way. Now go. Finish this, and tell Iris. Tell her I'm everywhere she'll ever be. Always." The frozen lightning blazed with renewed intensity, and Barry Allen made his final choice. He spread his consciousness across not just the Star Wars galaxy's timelines, but the dimensional barrier between universes. He became the living bridge, the permanent anchor, the guardian of the threshold. Reality stabilized around his sacrifice. Back on Coruscant's surface, the living force's hand stopped its descent entirely. The cosmic entity was experiencing something it had never felt before: doubt. Wonder Woman's lasso had forced it to confront uncomfortable truths. Flash's sacrifice had shown it genuine heroism, and Superman's anguish had demonstrated that these infections were capable of profound love and loss. "You are not what I believed," the living force admitted, its voice no longer threatening but contemplative. "You bring change, unpredictability, chaos, but also hope, sacrifice, growth." Yoda's voice carried across every comm channel, broadcasting to the entity itself. "Life, the Force is and life, it changes, evolves. Adapt or die. Choose. You must." The massive hand began to withdraw, pulling back into the cosmic storm. But the living force wasn't retreating. It was transforming. The faces that composed it shifted, showing not just Jedi and Sith, but now the Justice League as well. Superman's symbol appeared alongside ancient Force glyphs. Wonder Woman's lasso intertwined with lightsaber imagery, and throughout it all, red lightning connected every element like neural pathways. "A new balance," the living force declared. "Unprecedented, dangerous, but perhaps necessary. I will allow this synthesis, but the one called Flash must remain as anchor. Without him, the barrier collapses." "We understand," Batman said from the ground, watching his friend's consciousness become immortalized in the Force itself. "And we accept." The temporal storm began to dissipate. Ships stopped flickering between timelines. Temporal refugees found themselves permanently anchored to this new, synthesized reality. The countdown, frozen at 39 hours, dissolved entirely. The reset was canceled. Reality would continue, but at a cost that would echo through eternity. The silence after cosmic war was deafening. Superman descended slowly to the Jedi Temple's courtyard, where the impossible army had gathered. Jedi Masters stood beside Sith Lords, both groups too exhausted to resume their eternal conflict. Clone troopers and stormtroopers leaned against each other, their armor scorched and cracked. Mandalorians removed their helmets, breathing freely for the first time in hours. Even the fleets above had powered down weapons, establishing a tentative perimeter around the planet. Wonder Woman touched down beside Superman, her armor still glowing with the faint crimson of channeled dark side energy. She looked at him and saw the grief etched across his face, the weight of watching another friend sacrifice everything. He knew what he was doing, she said quietly. Doesn't make it easier. Superman's voice was hollow. We came here by accident, and Barry paid the price to fix it. Batman emerged from the temple's shadows, cape billowing despite the absence of wind. For once, his stoic mask had cracked slightly. The Flash had been one of the first heroes to truly accept him into the Justice League. To see past the darkness and recognize the purpose beneath. He's not gone, Batman said, though the words tasted like ash. He's everywhere now. Every moment in this galaxy's history. That's something. It's imprisonment disguised as heroism, Cyborg countered, his mechanical eye dim with sorrow. His sensors could still detect Barry's consciousness stretched across space-time, aware, awake, experiencing billions of moments simultaneously for eternity. He's feeling everything, everywhere, forever. That's not life. That's torture. Aquaman placed a hand on Cyborg's shoulder. It's sacrifice, the kind we all signed up for when we put on these symbols. His other hand gripped his trident tighter. Barry understood that better than any of us. Green Lantern descended from orbit, his ring's glow subdued. The Corps had witnessed the entire event, transmitted the data to Oa, and received unprecedented orders. Assist this galaxy's reconstruction using minimal construct generation. The Guardians themselves were debating the implications of a universe where willpower physically damaged reality. The Corps is standing down, Hal reported. They're calling this the temporal crisis, already making it part of the Book of Oa. He looked at his ring with newfound wariness. I can't use this freely here. Every construct risks tearing new holes. Ahsoka Tano approached the gathered League members, her white lightsabers holstered. Behind her came Anakin, Luke, Rey, and even Kylo Ren. 4 generations of Skywalker bloodline existing in the same moment thanks to the synthesized timeline. The Jedi Council wants to meet with you, Ahsoka said. Officially. To discuss what comes next. And the Sith? Wonder Woman asked, her warrior's instincts still alert for betrayal. Darth Vader's mechanical breathing announced his presence before he spoke. The Sith will observe. For now. Your integration into the Force has created a new paradigm. One that requires study. Study. Sidious's hologram materialized, the Emperor's yellow eyes gleaming with barely contained hunger. Such a polite word for plotting how to exploit this development. His gaze swept the League. You've become living virginces in the Force. Superman amplifies light. Wonder Woman channels dark, and your speedster friend has become time itself. Do you truly believe we'll simply coexist peacefully? No, Batman replied bluntly. But you'll coexist because the alternative is mutual annihilation. We've just proven that when pushed, we can unite this entire galaxy against a common threat. Any faction that tries to break this peace becomes that threat, and we will end them. The threat hung in the air, backed by the impossible alliance that had just saved reality itself. Yoda hobbled forward, his ancient eyes studying each League member with penetrating wisdom. Changed, the galaxy has. Forever. Outsiders you were. Part of the Force, you now are. But careful, you must be. Power without wisdom, dangerous it is. Responsibility you have accepted. Honored we are, but watched you will be. Fair enough, Superman said, his voice regaining some of its characteristic warmth. We didn't ask to be here, but we'll do our best to help. That's what heroes do. Heroes? Maul repeated the word like tasting poison. Such a quaint concept. We shall see how long your heroism survives in a galaxy built on conflict. Starkiller stepped forward, his force lightning finally extinguished. The temporal refugees need guidance. We're from different eras, different contexts. Some of us died in our proper timelines. Others were pulled from moments of crisis. How do we integrate into this new reality? Cyborg systems had been processing that exact question. I've been working with the Republic's bureaucracy, what's left of it anyway. We're establishing temporal integration centers. Anyone pulled from their proper era gets education, resources, and counseling. It'll take years, maybe decades, but we'll help everyone find their place. Ambitious? Admiral Akbar's hologram observed. The Mon Calamari Admiral had taken command of coordinating the various military forces. But necessary. We have clone armies appearing decades out of context, Jedi from the old Republic era, even Sith empires materializing in empty space. The logistical nightmare alone will be solved. Grand Moff Tarkin's cold voice interrupted. The Empire has resources. The Republic has idealism. The rebels have determination. The Mandalorians have pragmatism. Together we can rebuild what the Cascade shattered. The fact that Tarkin was suggesting cooperation sent shockwaves through every communication channel. If the architect of the Death Star and the symbol of imperial tyranny could recognize the necessity of unity, perhaps this peace had a chance. Bo-Katan removed her helmet completely, her scarred face showing hard-won wisdom. Mandalore will contribute. Our armor technology, our warrior culture, our experience surviving repeated annihilation. This way may become the galaxy's way, unity through strength, not conquest. As various faction leaders began discussing reconstruction details, Superman felt a familiar tug at his consciousness. The light side of the Force, now permanently connected to his essence, was showing him something. He looked up at the sky, his vision piercing through atmosphere and space to the dimensional barrier where Flash existed as living lightning. For just a moment, he saw Barry's face in the cosmic web, smiling, content, surrounded by infinite moments of beauty and heroism from every era. The sacrifice was real, the cost immense. But Barry wasn't suffering. He was experiencing everything. Every act of kindness, every moment of courage, every instance of hope across the galaxy's entire history. He's okay, Superman whispered, tears finally streaming down his face.
He's actually okay.
Wonder Woman saw it too, her connection to the dark side showing her the other moments. The battles, the struggles, the pain that also existed across those timelines. Together, light and dark, they saw the complete picture. Barry Allen experiencing the totality of existence, forever bearing witness to the galaxy's story. Batman's cowl sensors detected the dimensional readings. He couldn't see what his teammates saw. The Force still regarded him as invisible, but he understood. He found his purpose. His speed was always about experiencing more, seeing more, being present for everything. Now, he literally is. Poetic, Aquaman said softly. Tragic and poetic. The Jedi Council formally convened in the temple's main hall, and for the first time in history, representatives from every faction were invited. The Justice League stood at the center, symbols of impossible change in a galaxy that had resisted change for millennia. Master Windu, pulled from the Clone Wars era, addressed them with his characteristic stern pragmatism. You've saved us from extinction, but you've also fundamentally altered the Force itself. Light and dark are now connected to your presence. If you leave, the balance collapses. If you stay, you reshape galactic destiny simply by existing. Then we stay, Superman said without hesitation. And we help build something better than what existed before. Better? Sidious's hologram laughed with genuine amusement. You assume your values are universal. This galaxy has survived for millennia through conflict, through the dance between light and dark, through empires rising and falling. Your Earth's naive heroism may not transplant well to our harsher realities. Maybe not, Wonder Woman replied, her hand resting on her sword. But we'll try anyway, because that's what heroes do. We fight for better even when the odds say we'll fail. Vader's gaze swept the assembled forces, his mind calculating possibilities. The Emperor wanted to exploit the League, to turn them into weapons. The Jedi wanted to understand them, to integrate them safely into the Force. The Rebels saw them as symbols of hope. The Mandalorians saw them as worthy warriors. All of these perspectives were true simultaneously, and all of them meant conflict was inevitable. This peace won't last, Vader stated flatly. Within a year, perhaps less, the old patterns will reassert. The Jedi and Sith will war. The Republic and Empire will clash. The cycle continues. Then we'll be there to break the cycle, Green Lantern replied, his ring pulsing with determination. Every time, however many times it takes. Above Coruscant, the fleets began to disperse to their respective territories. The temporal refugees were transported to integration centers. The dimensional barriers stabilized with Flash's consciousness maintaining the threshold. The living force, transformed by its encounter with beings outside its paradigm, settled into a new pattern, one that included the impossible. Batman watched it all from the temple's highest balcony, his strategic mind already plotting the challenges ahead. They had survived the crisis, but survival was just the beginning. Now came the hard part, proving they belonged in this galaxy, earning trust across factions that had hated each other for millennia, and somehow maintaining the balance they'd created through Flash's sacrifice. "You're thinking about contingencies," Superman said, joining him on the balcony. "Always." Batman's voice carried a hint of grim humor. "We've just become the most powerful beings in this galaxy. That makes us targets, weapons, symbols, and scapegoats simultaneously." So, same as back home. Superman allowed himself a small smile. "We've handled it before. This is different. We can't leave, ever. The moment we try to return to Earth, the dimensional barrier collapses, and Barry's sacrifice means nothing." The weight of that reality settled over them both. They were stranded in a galaxy far, far away, responsible for maintaining a balance they'd accidentally created. Forever separated from the Earth they'd sworn to protect. "Then we make this our home," Wonder Woman said, joining them. "And we make it better. For Barry, for everyone." The three original Justice League members stood together, watching twin suns set over a Coruscant that existed in a new, synthesized timeline. Behind them, Aquaman, Green Lantern, and Cyborg joined the vigil, 6 heroes bound by duty and sacrifice. They had entered this galaxy as accidents. They would remain as legends. The days that followed the temporal crisis became the foundation of galactic myth. Superman took residence in a floating monastery above Coruscant, where Jedi masters and Force-sensitive younglings came to study the phenomenon of the living light, the amplified Force energy that radiated from his presence. He didn't teach the Force. He couldn't. But his example of restraint, of choosing compassion over power, reshaped Jedi philosophy in ways that would echo for generations. Wonder Woman established a sanctuary in the Sith shrine she'd conquered, transforming it from a place of corruption into a temple of disciplined passion. Dark side users came seeking power and found truth instead. Her Amazonian wisdom merged with Sith philosophy created something unprecedented. Warriors who could channel passion without succumbing to hatred, strength without cruelty. Batman disappeared into Coruscant's underworld, doing what he did best, operating from shadows, dismantling criminal syndicates, protecting those the great galactic conflicts ignored. The Force couldn't see him, which made him the perfect operative for missions requiring absolute stealth. Within months, crime lords whispered fearfully of the Dark Knight, a legend born from two universes. Green Lantern worked with the Corps to develop new protocols, learning to use his ring with surgical precision that didn't damage reality. Aquaman dove into uncharted ocean worlds, discovering Force-sensitive species in the depths that had never been cataloged. Cyborg integrated his mother box technology with galactic infrastructure, creating communication networks that connected all eras and factions. And Barry Allen. He existed in every moment, forever running through time itself, watching over the galaxy he'd saved. Occasionally, Force-sensitive individuals reported visions of red lightning during moments of crisis, of a speedster appearing for a heartbeat to change outcomes. The Jedi called them miracles. The Sith called them anomalies. Those who knew the truth called them hope. The Justice League had entered a galaxy bound by prophecy and found a way to break it. They'd faced extinction and chose sacrifice. They'd united impossible enemies and forged peace from chaos. They were no longer visitors in the Star Wars galaxy. They were its guardians. But in a dimension beyond sight, beyond the Force's perception, beyond even Barry Allen's infinite awareness, something stirred. A figure stepped through a portal that shouldn't exist, his eyes burning with Omega energy, surveying the dimensional breach that had been stabilized but never closed. Darkseid smiled. "You ran too far, little speedster," the Lord of Apocalypse said, his voice resonating across realities. "And now you've opened a door that goes both ways." He stepped forward into the dimensional threshold, his presence immediately alerting every Force-sensitive being across the galaxy. The living Force recoiled in horror, recognizing something it had no defense against, a being of pure tyranny from beyond its domain. On Coruscant, Superman's eyes snapped open, glowing with alarm. Wonder Woman's hand moved to her sword. Batman's cowl sensors screamed warnings. Through the red lightning pathways, Barry Allen's consciousness conveyed a single, terrified message across all timelines simultaneously. He followed me. Darkseid is here. The Justice League had saved the Star Wars galaxy from temporal collapse. Now they would have to save it from something far worse. The real war was about to begin. May the Force be with you. More stories await.